What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one, we'll break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I want to talk about why on earth we got some very bearish news this morning. It's causing the market to downtrend pretty hard. The market's going to most likely gap down by the time we open, and I'm going to talk about how on earth this could affect the price action intraday, what news is going to be coming out over the next couple of days to cause more volatility, what you should be watching for when it comes to the Fed, the news that came out, and earnings coming out as well. But before I break into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. It ends in just about 7 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So guys, looking at SPY, we're down about 0.7% right now. Tesla's down 1.75%, and the market is down pretty hard. The QQQ is down like 0.7% as well. So why is the market doing this? I'm going to answer that in just a couple of minutes, but check out this setup on SPY. So yesterday I was talking about this ascending wedge, but I told you guys I wasn't sure which way it would break because it depended on the news and all these different factors. If we broke the top right here, we could have tried to fill these imbalances right on the left side. This was one possibility, but if we broke below support, right, this support right over here, you guys can see it. If we broke below this, we would likely see the market end up tanking. And I was leaning in the direction of the market trying to hold up based off technicals on the QQQ, the NASDAQ, and some tech stocks. That looked more probable based off all the different technicals. But remember, technical analysis is not everything because sometimes the big news could come and that could change everything. And the big news came, and what it did is it made this rising wedge, this ascending wedge valid, and this ended up playing out. How crazy is that? It ended up playing out, and the market has come down pretty hard. And the question is, how will the market move from this point on? I'm going to talk about this in just a couple of minutes. But first, let's talk about some data dropping for today. We have the Fed, Harker, and Barkin giving speeches right now. Harker just came out and said that interest rate hikes are at an end. So that's some good news for the market, at least for now. However, the news that came out has trumped this. We have some other very, very big news I'm going to talk about in just a few minutes. The exports and imports data was as expected. And just as a reminder, we have the economic optimism report coming out at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, or 30 minutes after the market opens. So make sure you're ready for that. Now, when it comes to earnings, just as a reminder, we have AMC and Rivian coming out after the market closes. And then for tomorrow, we have Roblox, Sony, and Walt Disney announcing their earnings. Besides that, let's talk about some big things to know about the markets. I'm going to start from the top here. I actually read through these already. Number one, we have the earnings that are coming out pretty better than what Wall Street was expecting. That's part of why the market's still at these relatively high levels compared to what people expected. We're not in the 300s on SPY. We're not at 390 or like 400 flats. We're still relatively close to about 450. Even as we're dropping right now, we're looking at in the 440s. So it's because of the fact that earnings have been better than expected, and that continues to perpetuate. When it comes to Berkshire Hathaway, they had a very, very good day just yesterday, breaking all-time highs and continuing to pump. So that's great news for them. Tesla's CFO, Zach, ended up announcing his departure, and he's going to be replaced. So this was some big news for Tesla. This is why Tesla dropped and ended up bouncing. But the big piece of news for today would be bank concerns. Once again, they are back. The ratings agency Moody's has come out and they cut the credit ratings for several small and mid-sized U.S. banks, basically. And this has led to more downside for the markets because of capricious conditions, uncertain conditions, and because of the amount of fear that this leads to. So the news is like right here. Let me just scroll right back up. Moody's cut the ratings of about, actually it's supposed to be like 11 of them, 11 US banks, and put some big names on downgrade watch. So that's some important news that came out. They basically continue to downgrade many of these banks, warning us that the high interest rate environment is making things uncertain for them, and that their ability to lend out money with high confidence and security is actually dropping, at least to some extent. So you can see right over here, they lowered their ratings for about 11 different banks. Negative for 11 banks is what it says here, and it says for 10 of them by one rung. So big changes ended up coming from that. And once again, they're blaming it right over here, the unconventional monetary policy, which drains the system-wide deposits, and the higher interest rates, which depress the values of fixed assets. That's the reason why they said this. So this is some very, very big news that came out, and this is leading to more uncertainty for the markets. Anyways, now let's talk about how this is affecting the overall charts. Let's first hop over to TradingView. So the market's trying to bounce right now. We're going to be watching this gap around the 448. We might see this thing try to pop a little bit, very close to 448 or so, 448.5 or so, and we're going to see if we reject or not. There's a chance the market's going to try to hold up temporarily, but if we get a big rejection off our resistance around the 448.5 area, we could see SPY continue to downtrend and make its way down to 447.5 and retest this low right here to about the 446s, because there could be a delayed reaction again. So I'm going to be looking for this potential bounce and a rejection, or it could just try to bounce and hold around this level. I do not see us like all of a sudden getting this big rally to fill this gap. That's going to be kind of unlikely, in my opinion, because the news that came out is quite, like really, really bearish. Now, if we break above like 450, then yes, it is a possibility we try to fill this gap, but I don't really think that's going to happen. I'm going to be looking for a retest of this like pre-market gap and then a rejection off that and see how the market moves from there. So watch this thing retest the 448s, reject off that, then start downtrending. That's going to be very, very important, and we might just see a very sideways day from there. As far as Tesla goes, I'm seeing something very similar. Tesla's down about 1.66%, but not as bad as yesterday. We're going to be watching, can Tesla get a retest of like 249? I think it's going to make an attempt to get close to that in the morning. It tends to pop in the morning, then end up dropping. And we might see lots of sideways price action after that. A retest of 449 or so, then just continue to trade sideways. And then here's some levels to watch for on Tesla. We have some resistance right now, right? 249, excuse me, guys. 249 has some resistance, 250 as well, and also at 251. And if we break above 250, then we could try to fill this gap technically. I'm not sure if we're going to fill the gap. We're going to be watching to see if we could break 249 first. If we get above 249, we have to break 250. If that breaks, then yes, we could fill the gap up here. If not, then we might just see some sideways price action. My best bet would see us around like 249 to 250, kind of like trade sideways from there. And it may fail to fill that gap, but we'll have to wait and see on that. Then we have resistance at 247.5. We're actually testing that right now. If it breaks down, you have 245.95, 244.5, and then 242.7 all as our supports. It looks like it wants to bounce and try to push up towards 249 right now. And we will see how it reacts to the 20 EMA for the time being. Because remember, we're running based off a big piece of news. The news has led to more volatility. And part of the reason why the market is trying to bounce is because of Aapl. It's trying to push and retest 180, forming a nice double bottom. We will see if Aapl can break to about 180 a share. It looks like it wants to get closer to 180.5, but we'll have to see if it can break 180 first. Now, for support on Aapl, you're going to be watching support right here around this 179.1 area. If that fails us, then we have 178. But if anything, it looks a little bit more like Apple's trying to push for 180. We will see if it tries to break that or not. I think it may get stopped around there, but this could help the market rebound just a little bit. And we'll have to see how the market responds after that. Now, for the QQQ, this is looking like we had a big drop today, hitting this support around 371. Going to be watching this resistance at 373.5 and also 373.8. I think there's a good chance we're going to be seeing a retest of the 373s. I think it may touch this and end up getting a rejection, come right back down to the 372s, if not lower than that. And we will see if the market tries to break this resistance or not, because there is a really bad piece of news and the market could still panic over this. So I'm going to be watching for a retest of the 373s. Then we will see if we could break above 374 or not. If we manage to break it, we could fill this gap and push it a little bit higher to 375. If we fail to break the 373 resistance, this resistance zone between 373.5 to 373.8, if we fail to break that, we could see the QQQ come right back down to 372 and continue downtrending a little bit more and retest this low right here. That's another possibility. It really depends on how we react to this test right here in the 373s. For Nvda, this thing is currently down 0.66%. If Nvda could break above our 200 EMA at 452, we could fill the gap and push for about 454. That becomes one possibility. It could try to rebound a little bit better than the market if it tries to break this, but it has to break the 200 EMA first to get there. And if it fails to do so, then we could be back, to just continuing to chop back and forth, because Nvda, like I said before, we could have pumped, right? We could have seen 460 plus based off TA, but it's become a little bit more difficult with this bad news that came out, which caused the whole market to drop. It is only down 0.6%, so it's holding up a little bit better. The best assumption would be to assume we're going to be in this range, basically between 444 and then like 455 to 456 around that resistance. Assume we're going to be stuck in this range, and then we will see if which way it breaks. If it could get above like 456, for example, after filling a gap, then yes, we could still see 460 plus, but I'm not as confident about that because of the news that came out. We might just see a very sideways day for Nvidia because of how it's looking right now. Like it wants to pump up, but the market could be slowing it down, acting as an anchor. So we're going to be watching just range trade for the time being, be stuck within its range between 444 and 455 to 456, this like resistance right here, this entire range, and then we will see which way it breaks. For now, that's really all I could say because, like I said, this new news came out and the market may have a very, very different response to it. The dollar is up 0.5%, so we actually got a bounce off 102, the support, which is a bearish signal. If the dollar keeps pumping, if it keeps going all the way up to like 10.7, 102.7, excuse me, that could be another bearish signal. The VIX, what's interesting is the VIX hasn't moved yet at the time I am recording this, but it's probably going to, gap up again. We'll have to see where it opens. For now, we're still waiting for it because I am recording this much earlier than the market open. The 10-year treasury yield is up too, which tends to be another bearish signal. Just be well aware of this. It's still going up. And then finally, we have like Amazon, just a couple of others. Amazon's down to about 140. It's still holding up quite decently. If 140 breaks, we're going to be watching our support in the 139 area. And I think Amazon may test that and try to bounce after that. And then we have resistance around 142.5, followed by 143.14. For Meta, it's the same thing. This thing is coming down a little bit, but it's still trying to hold up. It's not that bad at 315. We're going to be watching some. I think it's going to push up to fill this gap, get a retest of 316, then drop after that, and just trade kind of sideways. It's been pretty range bound as well for the last couple of days. So I'm expecting this to be kind of range bound with support around 312.5 and 310, and we'll see what happens after that. All right, so anyways, that's what I have for this video. Watch for a bounce on SPY from this pre-market level. This is a bounce off 446.6. Watch for a bounce on SPY and see how it reacts to the 448. If we could break them, the market could try to keep going. If we reject off this resistance between 448.8 and 449, basically like the high 448s, if we reject off the 448s, we could see this thing come right back down and retest this low for a big rejection and maybe even make new lows, right? That's another possibility. All right, so it all depends on this test. I think we're going to see the market rebound first, then it could reject or not. It really depends on the severity of the news, how the market really takes it in. And we'll have to wait and see at this point, right? It's not like this is just all about technicals at this point. The market's reacting to this news, and that's why it can be a little bit harder to predict. But the best thing to do is just watch for your tests and to see how the market ends up moving based off that. All right, so thank you for listening. Hope this video was helpful. Market to the moon as the long term is still very bright despite the short term fluctuations, and peace out.